Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island, Season 1, Episode 3. All right, now before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. All right, now. Ooh, child, these ladies are something else. But the taglines are here, so we'll start off with the taglines. So Kelsey is first up in the rotation, and her tagline is "Who needs a sugar daddy when my life is this sweet?" I mean, your life is that sweet because of your sugar daddy, so you kind of need your sugar daddy. I'm sorry. It was just like, girl, what? Okay, I give it to you. You cute. Rulla's tagline was, "I have a blessed life and I'm a loyal wife." We know you're loyal. It's your husband that we're worried about. But all right, go off. Because what is what? Okay, girl. Yeah, we like I said, we know you're loyal. It's your husband that isn't. So Alicia's tagline is, "Why settle for just a slice when you have the whole damn pie?" And I was just like, okay, this is cute. This is cute. And then we found out in this episode, and I was just like, girl, you would be lucky if you got a slice. Let me not tear all their taglines. I'm sorry. Oh Lord. Okay, so the next person up is Ashley, and hers is, "My life is like a rom-com. When I'm not crying, I'm laughing." And I so far this is the first episode that we didn't see her crying, so thank God for that. Rosie's was, "I used to report the news. Now I'm the headline." I was just like, okay, this was cute. I kind of like this one. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. Jo-Ellen's tagline was, "I'm not trying to be mean. I just mean what I say." I said, okay, I may not like you, but you ate with that one. You ate. I'm gonna give you that one. I was just like, okay, okay, I got you. I got that. I like that one. I'm not trying to be mean. I just mean what I say. I'm low key gonna start using that. Oh Lord. And then Liz's tagline was, "In the ocean state, I dispense the weed and the truth." I mean, okay. But yeah, that was I'm sorry. I was just like, their taglines were, it was cool. The ones that I liked again was Rosie and Jo-Ellen's. And that's low key like my polar opposites. Like I really like Rosie and I really don't like Jo-Ellen. So the fact that I like their taglines is like, okay, I'd be all over the place. But yeah. All right, so we get into the episode and we see a montage of the ladies doing different things. We see Rosie and Rich, they are cleaning her they're washing her car. Then we see Jo-Ellen and Gerry, they're drinking wine, and then we see Liz and Gerry. No, Liz and child, Gerry, I think that's his name. Yeah, I think they have the same name. Yeah, I think they have the same name. So we see Liz and Gerry, they're riding bikes. So we get back to Ashley and Jared. I'm sorry, Ashley and Jared, they come over to Rosie's house and they come over to Rosie's house. And when we get to Rosie's house, we find out, that they, when they got married, they both decided to sell their condos and then they bought a house. So they bought a house. It was a one bed, one bath over a three-car garage. And I was just like, who would make a one bed, one bath over a three-car garage? But okay. So he says he's going to add 5,000 more square feet to the house. So we see in the backyard, he had like, or next to the house, he had dug it because he's getting ready to build onto the house. So I was just like, okay. And so she was just like, yeah, he likes to flip houses. So he'll buy a house, flip it, sell it, and then go buy another one, flip it, sell it, XYZ. So that's what he does. And she was just like, I didn't think this was going to be my life. And it was just like, girl, I mean, you married him when so the guys are outside and the ladies go inside and they talk about, the wine party or whatever. And they talk about they talk about Rosie admit not Rosie, but what's her name? Kelsey admitting to a poly relationship, because it was just like, girl, you was over here mad talking about everybody talking about your relationship and they don't know what it is. And it's just like, but it is what they said it was. So okay. So they talk about that. And then Rosie says she kind of feels bad for Jo-Ellen with the whole Rulla situation or whatever. And she's nervous for for the party, because we find out that Liz is about to throw her husband a 54th birthday party at Studio 54. So that's the theme of the party is Studio 54 because he's turning 54. So again, we saw them riding their bikes, and then they, after they rode their bike, they went and sat down to talk. And she's telling him about what Alicia did about the whole Dino thing. And she says, it got to her because the fact that it got to her because it was Alicia who asked, because Alicia knows her, like she knows her, so she didn't think that she would do that. So she says, she doesn't like that there are rumors out there, but her, Dino, and Gerry are really good friends. And she says that her and Gerry had, they were married for 14 years before he started boating, and once he started boating, he would be gone 3 weeks out of the month, or what 3 weeks out of the month, and he would always call Dino to check on her, tell Dino to watch out for her, to make sure she's okay or whatever. So her and Dino would go out together. So people assumed that something was going on because she would be out with Dino like 3 to 4 times a week or whatever. So yeah, so she's that irritated her, and she's ticked off about it. So again, they start talking about the party and getting ready for the disco party or whatever. So we see Jo-Ellen. She is at home with her husband, and they are drinking wine or whatever. And then they start to talk about the whole Ruler situation, and her, her husband calling her job. I mean, Brian, which is Rula's husband, calling Jo-Ellen's job or whatever, and then getting HR involved, and him sending an email about wanting to write a complaint about her and all this other stuff. And you know, things, um, she knows that she knows that Rula and them are going to be at the party. So, Gerry is saying, I'm gonna handle it or whatever. And she was just like, oh, if you beat him up, I'm gonna give you some or whatever. I was just like, girl, what? So yeah. So we see Kelsey. She is at a coffee shop, and she is meeting her other boyfriend, who is Bill. So she's known him since seventh grade. Her parents know about her older boyfriend, and they love him, but they also want her to be with someone who's going to let her let her have the thing that she wants the most, which is she wants to be a mom and she wants to be married. That's what she wants. And he's not going to budge on it because he already has kids. And I'm guessing he was probably already married before, so he doesn't want to do it again. And again, he's already had kids, so he doesn't want to go through that again or whatever. So she's known Bill since seventh grade. Her mom knew him, she's known his family or whatever. So she's always talking about, how's my future son in law and all this other stuff. But she just doesn't pay it any mind or whatever. She does say that she wants to be a mom someday, and she's just trying to figure out what she wants to do. She's keeping Bill at arm's length because um yeah, she's keeping him at an arm's length because she doesn't know yet how she wants to proceed with her life. And she says that he's successful, but he can't offer her the life that she's living now. um, and the life that she wants to continue. He's cute. They actually look cute together. Um, I wanted to. What I was thinking was, if she wants to keep the lifestyle that she has and she wants to stay with this man, like, has she thought of asking him, like, telling him, like, hey, I want to be a mom. If I get a sperm donor, would that be a problem? Like, we could still be together. You don't have to be the daddy. It's not like you hear that much anyway. You gone 6 months out the year, so I'm gonna be here by myself anyway, and I can have my kid, take care of my kid. Like, I don't know if that's an option for her. I don't know, because it's just like, I'm just thinking, like, how could you, like, how can you do this, like, with this relationship or whatever? Keep it, because clearly the way that you live it now, you're not gonna be able to live that with this Bill guy, because I don't think anybody is living like the one that you got. um so Liz, she goes over to Alicia's, and Alicia's doing some construction at her house, so she moved all of her dolls down to the living room, and she has like this whole collection of dolls, and it was just like, girl, what? And they're like propped on like stands and stuff, like they are like actual like memorabilia. I think that's what it is, but they're like in pristine shape and all of that. So she says, she's always been fascinated with dolls. She doesn't let her daughter play with them. I was just like, girl, I mean, hey, it's a hobby, I guess. So she sets out some food for her and Liz, and then she apologizes to Liz for the question that she asked. And she tells her, I'm an open book. Anybody can ask me anything. Like, they can even ask me why I'm not married. And Liz is just like, well, I know. So then we find out. She tells us again, she's been engaged for 9 years. She hasn't seen a successful marriage yet, and she grew up with six women, six aunts, and five of them are divorced. And when her parents didn't make it, that put her guard up. So she doesn't, she low key doesn't want to get married. That's why she's been engaged for so long. So she says her fiance, and I said her boyfriend at this point, because that's what he is. Because if you're not gonna marry him, I guess. So she said her boyfriend, let me stop. Her fiance wanted her to sign a prenup. So when she went to the lawyers to go over the prenup, she found out that he wasn't going to leave her with anything. Like, the lawyer told her, he won't leave you with a dime if y'all break up. Like, if y'all get a divorce, he's not leaving you with a dime. Like, you're not getting nothing out of this marriage. And yeah, so yeah, if he were to cheat, if he were to do anything, she would not get anything out of the divorce. And then she tells us that he won't even put her name on the house. And Liz is saying in her confessionals that Alicia needs to advocate for herself more. She and Gerry, like, Liz and Gerry are 50-50 on everything. They bought their house together, they built the business together, and that's her partner. So Alicia says, if he were to leave me or cheat on me, she just wants to make sure that she wouldn't be left without a house, because that's what her dad did to her mom. So we find out that her dad left her mom when she was 16, and he sold their house. So her and her mom had to go move in with her grandparents or her grandma or something like that. And she hasn't seen, the only thing she has left of him is of her dad is his last name and his temper. And honestly, I would have changed my last name, because what you mean you left my mama and then sold the house that we were living in while we living there? Are you okay? Like, nah, you're not okay. Something wrong with you, because no, sir. So she says that Liz tells her that she needs to find her passion. She says in her confessional, she hates asking him for money because it's like a power thing. And she always thought she wanted to be a stay at home wife or girlfriend in her case, but it sucks. And I was just like, that would suck if you don't have anything to your name. Everything is in his name, and you have to ask him for everything. That's low key like that's a financial like he's financially amusing her, you know? And it's just like, girl. But then again, I'm just like, maybe she got on this show so that way she can start making her own money, so she can start building herself up to inevitably leave him. I don't know. Maybe she not. I don't know. I don't think she gonna leave him, but I mean, you've been there for 9 years, so child at this point. So she asked Liz if she needs any help with the party and if she can bring anything. I don't know if Liz says yes or no, but then they start talking about if either one of them has spoken with Rula, and they say no. And then she was just like, but she is invited to the party. She doesn't know if she's going to come though. So we see Rula, she's at home and she's hosting a brunch for her friends. And when her friends show up, I see that it was none of the ladies. I was just like, so who is your friend on this show? Because the only scene that I've seen her have with these ladies was with Liz and Kelsey, but she hasn't had any other scene with any of the ladies since she's been on. So are they your friends or are you just here? So it's her friends, and she tells them that she's been under a lot of stress with everything that's going on. In her confessional, she tears up about about the affair and all of that or whatever. And then she tells her, she go back to her friends and she's talking about, she can't like she can't just leave because her kids are here. They ask how the kids are doing, and she says, they know something is up. They're doing it as best as they can handle it. She then says, they give her advice about all this other stuff, and then she says in her confessional that divorce isn't normal in her culture. And then they ask her, well, haven't you been divorced before? And she says, yeah, I'm not talking about that, and my parents wouldn't like that. What you mean divorce isn't normal in your culture, but you've been divorced before? I'm gonna need okay, girl. So she tells the ladies that about Jo-Ellen, and that she's gonna see her at the party, and they tell her to keep her head up or whatever. So we see Ashley. She is having date night with her hubby at a restaurant across the street from his coffee shop, because clearly he can't go far from that place, child. So he's talking about the coffee shop. He needs to get a new oven. He needs to get a new coffee machine. He needs to get a new ice maker. It's yeah, and she's just like, it's a money pit. It's just taking all the money. And actually, I don't know if it's producing any money, but it seems like it's taking a lot of money. So, she says that, she's sad that he's not enjoying it, and he's not enjoying it that much, and she hates that for him, and she hates that he's always thinking about it, and he can't just, have fun because again, he's always thinking about it or whatever. So we see Rosie and Rich, and they are celebrating their 1 year anniversary. She talks about how when she met him, she thought he was just going to be a F buddy, and she didn't think that they would go this far. She did want to get married, but she didn't think that he wanted to. But she's happy that that they're married now. And then they talk about her not wanting to be a mom, and because she's had trauma from her mom. She says that he asked her, do you think your mom wanted to be a mom? And she was just like, no. And so she tells us that her mom was a primary caretaker, and if things weren't perfect, then it would be a problem, and she was never perfect. He asked her, do you think you would resent a kid if you had one? And she was just like, maybe. So she tells us how her mom is Catholic, but Rich isn't Catholic, and so they weren't going to have a Catholic wedding. And when she told her mom pitched a fit, said she was going to disown her, said she wouldn't come to the wedding, like just made a complete ass out of herself. And so they ended up having a Catholic wedding for her mama. And at that, it was just like at that moment she realized that something ain't right, like this isn't normal. So I'm guessing she's now like she's she's putting distance between her and her mom at this point. So he tells her, he wants her to keep an open mind and maybe she'll change her mind about having kids in about a year or so. And she was just like, we've always been on the same page about this. But yeah, maybe I'll change my mind. And he was just like, yeah, in a year or so. And she was just like, more like 5 or 10. And he was just like, well, at that time, you'll be in your 40s and it's going to be hard to have a kid. And she was just like, yeah, but I'm still going to look young. Like, I'm always look young. I'm going to continue to keep getting these fillers. And she's just like, she's just like not trying to hear it about having a kid because she don't want one. And it's like, if that's what y'all discussed and that was what y'all agreed upon, then you gonna have to eat that, Rich, because you can't agree to it and then marry her and then try to change her mind. That's not right. It's not fair. If she changes her mind on her own, that's a different story. Because again, like you asked her, would she resent the kid? If you're forcing her to have a kid, she's going to resent that kid and she's going to resent you. So you may want to tighten up on that. So it's the day of the party, and we see everybody getting ready for the party. We see Alicia. We see Alicia. She is with Rosie, and she's telling Rosie that she loves this era. She loves this era because she always thought of herself as um, a dealer's a dealer's girlfriend, wife, or whatever, like Scarface. And Rosie was just like, huh. And she was just like, have you ever Alicia asked her, have you ever seen Scarface? And she was just like, no. If it wasn't on Disney Channel, she ain't seen it. I said, girl. And I was just like, that just shows how young. That just shows how young she is. So we start seeing everybody arriving at the party. Um, Everyone is there, and then Jo-Ellen and Gerry are the last ones to arrive. So Jo-Ellen, Jo-Ellen and Gerry, they approach Rulla and Brian, and then they go sit down and they have their talk. So we see Dolores running to tell Kelsey, and then we see Rosie telling Ashley, and they're all just being nosy or whatever. So we get to the sit down between Rulla and Jo-Ellen. So um let's see. Gerry gets right to it. He's just like, "Why you calling my wife's job?" And Brian is just like, hemming and hawing, not really saying nothing. So Rulla tries to go and explain, and Jo-Ellen tells her, I don't think you were involved, but Brian was. So then Brian says, yeah, so I told my friend about it, and my friend told me to call your job. And my friend said he'll call your boss. So he called your boss, and she was just like, well, what about the email? And she was just like, he said, yeah, he said he told me to send an email. So I did. And she was just like, but I'm not your rep. So why are you even doing all of that? She tells Rulla, your husband called my colleague and talked ish about me. Um, Brian says, well, it wasn't my intent to get you fired. Sir, what? So, okay. So then Gerry says, well, then what was your intent? So he says it was to get her to stop talking about me. And Gerry says, well, then you should have just called me and I would have handled that and I would have got her to stop. He says, I have a problem now since you contacted her job and you got HR involved in all of this. And that's when we see Rosie and Ashley talking about the convo. So Rosie says, Gary's over there in that glitter jacket just yelling. I was just like, Rosie is a mess. So Jo-Ellen says, so what we're not going to do is call jobs. And then Brian starts to laugh and she was just like, it's not funny. She says, um, she tells Rulla if he doesn't want me to gossip about his appearance. And Rulla tells him, can you please stop throwing things out there? So Jo-Ellen and Gerry both say, well, everybody is talking about it and everybody knows. So then Rosie is in her confessional. She says, she was just like, this, I should be a relationship commentator. So she does breaking news in her newswoman voice, talking about breaking news. I was just like, Rosie is a mess. So we get back to Rulla and Jo-Ellen, and Jo-Ellen says, if he's having an affair, that's not my problem. Rulla says he had an indiscretion and it's water under the bridge. Jo-Ellen tells her it's not. Jo-Ellen tells her not to take that out on her. And Rulla says, I'm not taking that out on you. What I'm taking out on you is the fact that you are running with it, spreading more, you're spreading the pictures, spreading hearsay. That's what I'm taking out on you. Um, and the fact that you were excited about doing all of that. And then Gerry says he doesn't care about any of that. What he cares about is his wife putting food on the table for his kids. Jo-Ellen says it's not Jo-Ellen tells Rulla it's not done. And if you don't want to admit it, and Rulla says he's not having an affair, and Jo-Ellen says yes, he is. So as this is going on, we see that they're starting to cut the cake for Gerry, and singing him happy birthday or whatever. So we go back to Jo-Ellen and Rulla, and Jo-Ellen in her confessional saying, she doesn't want to hurt Rulla's feelings. She's just trying to protect her from a horrible husband. She says everyone in the group knows, and she deserves to know too. Wouldn't you want to know? So then Rulla tells Brian, why aren't like why aren't you saying anything? Like, tell him, like tell him. So he was just like, well, what do you want me to say? I mean, y'all are saying everything already. And Jo-Ellen says it's not my business, just don't call my job. So my thing is, if it's not your business, Jo-Ellen, then why did you feel the need to continue to spread the rumor? Like, at this point, it's like, okay, you were gleeful in spreading this rumor because you were gleeful in your confessional talking about it. You could have easily went to her and told her, hey, I saw this pic, boom, 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 this is what I know, boom, do with it what you want with it. Instead, you told everybody else, and then you keep doubling down on the fact that he's doing this. And it's just like, quit pushing it. Just leave. If she's telling you it's not happening, leave it be. Quit trying to force her to accept what you're saying. She's not going to accept it. I mean, that's where we're at. Like, she's not leaving her husband no matter how many times you tell her that he's cheating on her. She's not going to leave her husband. So the fact that you keep saying it and you keep doubling down, and it's just like you want to be right instead of trying to like you said in the confessional, you don't want to hurt her feelings. You're trying to protect her. You're actually not protecting her by continuing to talk about this and spreading this. If that's what you're doing, that's not helping her. That is in fact hurting her. And you are gleeful in this because you keep, when she's telling you he's not, he is. All my kids, he is. And it's just like, why? Like, just leave that alone. So yeah, she told her it wasn't done. So Liz, what's it called? Liz sees them, so she comes over to them and she says, what's going on? You know what? It doesn't matter. This is Gerry's birthday. Let's go have fun. That's what we're here for. So they go their separate ways. Jo-Ellen says her issues aren't with Rulla. She just wants to grab her and shake her, but her hair topper is going to fall off. That's what she says in her confessional. So again, you are gleeful in what's going on between Rulla and her husband. But okay. So Rulla says, "Oh my gosh, I don't know why she's making up things, why she's making things up." And Brian says, "Next, she's gonna say I was at a Diddy freak off." And I was just like, "Sir, where did that come from?" Like of all things, that's where you went, Rula. If you don't know, I'm gonna need you to see. I don't think that man. I allegedly, I think that man is still cheating on you, or at the time of filming, he was. I don't know what's going on now. Allegedly, I don't know. So they go and leave. So we see. Let's see. So we see Rosie, Rosie being Rosie, Rosie being nosy. She asked what happened between Joel. She asked Joellen what happened, and Joellen was just like, "Oh, Gerry was good. He's gonna get laid tonight." Da, 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 all this other stuff, and I was just like, "Okay, girl." So then we see on the car ride home, we see Rula and Brian, and it's like quiet. Nobody's saying anything. And then she says, she tells him, I wish you would have said something because she was trying to put you down. And he just shrugs his shoulders. He was just like, I'm not about to start a fight with a female. And she says in her confessionals, she wishes he was more stern and more defensive. Gerry stood by Joellen. He was 10 toes down for Joellen, but you couldn't even give me that. You were just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, twiddling your fingers, and looking like a little punk while I was over here fighting for my life, trying to say that you're not cheating, and you just sitting there like, oh well, like, yeah, I was with her. Like, you need to do better, sir. um, so she asked him why didn't he shut it down, and he says because you were doing it quite well. And I was just like, that's the type of man that's gonna embarrass you later in life. Because what do you mean I was doing it well? Rula, I'm gonna need you to listen to that because he's already seeing that you're gonna go to bat for him when he does something wrong. So the next time that he does something wrong, he's not gonna say anything because he's gonna want you're gonna he knows you're gonna go to bat for him. And then he's gonna turn around and continue to do wrong, and you're never gonna leave him, and then he's gonna end up filing for divorce on you. Hi, Tina Campbell from Mary Mary. So the party is starting to wind down, and people are getting ready to leave. Jared says he needs to stop by the coffee shop on the way home, and Ashley is just like, for real. She was just like, yeah, just for 5 minutes, 5 minutes, and she was just like, okay, I'm gonna time you, and it's just like, sir. So we see Kelsey. She goes to check on Liz, and Liz tells her, she just wants to go down to the seawall to take with Gerry and Dino, and she wants everybody to see that they're really good friends, and it's nothing more than that. And then Kelsey tells her you shouldn't because of the rumors, and Liz gets pissed off, and then she tells her to f off, and she walks away. So she goes upstairs to her room. Kelsey follows her, and Kelsey wants to know, why are you mad at me? And Liz goes off. She tells her all she does, it's all lies. The rumors are lies. There's nothing going on. And Kelsey has more to hide than her. And I was just like, ooh, what she got to hide? What is going on? So, the other ladies sensed that something was going on. So Alicia and Jo-Ellen go up there. So we see in Liz's confessional, she says when Kelsey said that, it rubbed her the wrong way. And she's just trying to distance her own story from Dino and point the finger at her. And I was just like, what's her story? So they ask her, well, how does Kelsey know Dino? And Liz was just like, well, you're just gonna have to ask Kelsey about that. I said, oh, these girls is messy. So we see Joellen and Alicia. They are upstairs, and they're trying to see if everything's okay. And Kelsey kicks them out because she doesn't want this to be a thing, and they're making it into a thing. And Alicia is just like, she's never seen Liz and Kelsey fight, and you don't f with Hurricane Liz. You better watch out. Liz is saying, you know what? I just want to go to bed. She calls Kelsey fake, and she tells her she's not her friend, and she's never been her friend. And then we see Kelsey walking down the stairs, covering her face so the camera doesn't see her. And that's how the episode ends. I was just like, oh, this show is everything. I am loving this show. This is a really good show. Um, but yeah, that was the episode, y'all. Ruler, mama. I'm gonna need you to have one foot out that door, cause if he wasn't doing it before, he gonna do it now, cause he know you ain't going nowhere. That man is gonna embarrass you. And at this point, you could take him for what he worth because he cheated on you and you got proof. You got evidence, girl. And you got 2 kids. Child. But yeah, that was the episode. Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.